Okay, this little video is just going to look at how to make your actual point of sales display. So when you're at home, so you may have some already cut card. If you don't have that, you can use well, whatever you can get hold of really, but some form of serial packaging, which is duplex board. So it has a good surface to print onto, which has been used, and then it has another side on the inside which is unbleached. So sometimes it's quite grey. Other times, like this particular product, it's like white on the inside. So sometimes you might be able to draw directly onto the inside. Other times we might have to laminate, we might have to draw onto paper and then stick it on. So just going to look at the marking out. So all I've done is, I'm going to get rid of all this equipment, is I've cut up the packaging of some cereal box on the side. I've tried to cut along the score line to try and keep it as square as possible, so at a right angle as best. If I cut it too rough, it'll be difficult to mark out. So it's roughly, there's roughly an A4 piece of paper or size in here, which is roughly what we're using on the inside. So I'm trying to I've not cut this particularly well. I'm going to use that edge there, which is the fold, which is more accurate. So I'm going to look at two ways of making your point of sales display, depending upon your design. So this is one that I drew when we were doing the ideas. So I'm going to put 4 panels into here, equal size. So with you want some form of set square if you possibly can. So you may make one of these just by cutting a diagonal line across your card, cut it out, and it'll give you a right angle. That's all we need. You can use a book, you can use something with a 90-degree angle, so it could be a CD or a DVD case, something with a 90-degree angle. So if I mark here, this is going to be the starting point. So I'm going to put my set square just on this fold line here and project the line up. Okay, so this could be, let's say, a coaster like this. I could use that to get me started. So if I look back to my ideas, I think I said that my idea was going to be about, I think it's 65 wide. So I'm going to put 65 there. Then I'm going to measure another 65, then another 65, and then another 65, which is here. And then I've got a 10mm space for the gluing tab. If I then use my set square, place it on that fold line. So making sure that this is parallel, I can draw that line up. Do the same with this one. So I put my set square on that fold line, project the line up. Now, I can just about get away with this one. So put it on the fold line, project that line up. Now this one I haven't got much of a fold, so it might start wobbling here. So I'm going to flip over the set square and I'm going to place it on the fold line like that and then project that line up. And the same on that one. I'm going to put it on the fold line and project it up. So I'm going to decide upon the height. So if I decide here, it's going to be, let's say 100, can I get 180 in there? Yep, should get 180 there at that point. So I'm going off my ideas. And then on this side, I'm going to measure 180 with this one, which is here. And then if I draw that line across, so you're going to need a ruler of some description. If it's not as long as this, you'd have to measure on each of the lines and then draw your line across. So if I continue these up like that, and like that, and like that, like that. Remember on your glue tabs, any glue tabs, you want a little drafted side, so you want it to come in like this. And I'm going to make a note, so 65, 65, 65. So if this was better quality on the inside, so this is like it's unbleached, so if I start using a fine liner on here, it'll start to soak in. So I'm going to laminate mine on paper. So if I then cut this out, so taking care, so when you're using your scissors, try and cut from your pivot point here on the side, you get more control. Very rarely do you use the edges here, they're normally for like snipping little bits. So you get more control of keeping your cut close to your pivot point. So as I remove that, let's get rid of that. There we go. So if I cut down this bit, there we go. Down there. So I'm only using around about a centimetre or 2 centimetres near the pivot point. And then I'm going to just trim off that little crease line on there. There we go. So trying to stay on the line as best I can. Okay. Then when you come to score, or I should say crease, your board, you can use a biro if you want to, or you can use part of your scissors. but just be careful when you're doing it on a surface that you don't damage the surface underneath. So if you're doing this on a dining room table, just be careful. Okay, so cut that bit off. That's my little drafted section. So I'm not going to stick this together. I'm not going to assemble it first because it's more difficult to lay and glue things onto it. So I should have now, there we go, I've got my, so I'm going to score these. So obviously put something down on the table so you protect it. So I'm going to put my ruler on the edge. Just be careful if you're protecting your fingers here. So I'm just going to run at the edge of the scissors down that part there. So obviously if I carried on, I'm going to damage the table on there. That should crease it. So just make sure it's going to crease it, it's weakened it. Alternatively, you can use a biro, if I can find one. Maybe I should prepare this. There we go, I've got a biro here. And then I can just run this down on here. Like that, which should weaken it as well. So actually it's probably safer than doing it with the scissors. So if I run that down there we go. And the same with that one. Okay, so they're all weak now. So I'm not going to assemble, just kind of breaking the back on them. There we go. So that's my structure for my point of sales display. Okay, I'm going to do one more as well. So if you've got a different design, this was another demonstration. I'll move that to one side. Another demonstration that we did on the initial ideas. This is going to be this one. So if I do a quick sketch so you kind of get an idea, looks a bit like this. And it's got a little tie that runs across. It's got a curved section. Okay, so I'm going to try and make that one now. So if I flip that, I need a long piece of card here. I think this bit going across here is too short. So I'm just going to mark along the edge here, making sure it's on the camera. So if I measure here, so I'm going to mark, let's say, 100 millimeters across here. I need to project a line up this way. So I'm going to use my set square. So accuracy is important. So I'm going to put that on the baseline, project that up. I'm not overly convinced by the measurements on this one, so I'll explain why in a minute. So if I wanted this to go, we'll go for the same length as the other one, 180. So this would have fitted onto our piece of paper. I'm going to then place the set square across there, so it's on the edge. Draw my line across. So the other bit I'm going to try and get out of here, this part of the material. So I'm going to cut this first. In fact, I probably need to make that a bit longer. Just looking, I'm going to make it a bit, just a tad longer. So I think I've got a maximum of around 280. So I'm going to use 270 of it. So I'm going to just project that line just that little bit longer, and I can still use this side. So I'm going to put that there. I might trim a bit off of this later on when I get a better idea of what it looks like. So if I cut that off now, I'm going to take care to cut on along this line accurately because I need to keep this bit here. So if I cut along that bit, there we go. There we go, and then along this bit. Okay, so I still want to keep that bit, so I'm just going to trim that along. That bit can go in the bin, and I'm going to finish this bit off there. So if you remember from the design that I drew, this bit needs to curve over like that. So I'm thinking, is it a bit too tall? I'm not sure actually. I might take off a little bit on the bottom. So I'm just going to trim off a couple of centimeters. So if I use my set square there, actually it's not cut very well there, is it? So I'm just going to cut off, let's say 4 centimeters there. So even though you think you've worked it out when you're doing your ideas, when you come to make it, you can still have an opportunity to modify your design. Okay. There we go. So if I was to fold this now, that might be more what I'm after, like that. So now I need a bridging part that goes across here. So if I just measure across here, what would I like it to be? I want it to be around about, I think probably about 8 centimeters, and then I need the 2 gluing tabs. So if I go back to this piece of paper here, so I need 80 centimeters, 8 centimeters plus another 2 gluing tabs, so that'll be 100 millimeters. If I then put my set square there like that, and if I measure the 2 gluing tabs now, so I need a gluing tab here, and I need one here, and then using my set square, I'm going to project that line across, move that across to there, like that. There we go. So I'm going to cut that out. Don't forget to put your little drafted edges on your glue tab. So one there, one there, one there, one there. Find that biro again, which is here. So I use my ruler or my set square. I'm just going to weaken this. So I run that down there, and the same with that one. Now I'll fold that over, and fold that over, and then again, I'm not putting this together just yet. We'll do that on another. So I'll just work out, does that look about right? So I'm doing something called a dry assembly, just trying to work out, does that look okay? So I'm going to keep them parts to one side. So I've got my two, well, you only need one, but I've done 2 point of sales displays. They're the structure. So like I said, you could, if you've got a good quality surface, you can draw directly onto it. This isn't that great to do now when I come to apply colour. So we're going to stick it on with paper. Okay, so I'm going to leave that now.